Well, we're at the Loft in Minneapolis with Alex Farina, our Senior Artistic Director, and he's going to be cutting Van's hair in a moment. But Alex, before we go over and take a look at the model, talk to me a little bit about, like, for instance, ideas. Where do you get ideas from, this particular haircut?
Well, you know, Gordon, a lot of it I just get from just being in the salon, working hands-on with my customers, and from seeing what other people are doing in the salon, what is happening in our seminars, what a lot of our clients are asking for, what the stylists are asking for, and just looking in magazines, watching MTV, just what's going on in the street.
And I think that's a really important point to mention, that, you know, creativity doesn't mean you got to reinvent the wheel. What you've really got to do is be sensitive to what's going on around you. And you see ideas, and then you develop your own from there. That it's not something you have to develop from the ground up, but if you see a graduation you like, or a texture you like, a technique you like. You mentioned in the salons, and I know that obviously your real focus is education, but that you still work in the salon working on customers.
Sure, and that's part of my favorite part. That's a way for me to kind of just get back in and really plug back into what's happening at ground level.
Okay, I mean, obviously for me, the most important part of the process of learning is to keep as open a mind as you can. And then when you see something, take the time, your own time, to practice it, to make it your technique. You know, it's a pretty easy way of looking at it. Once somebody shows you how to do something and you then go through the process of learning it, it's no longer their technique, it's now your variation on it. And each of us is different. We've all got our own approach to it. So why don't we walk over, meet Van, and then tell me a little bit about the cut, like the products, the tools that you'll be using.
Sure.
And go from there.
All right. What I liked about Van's hair is that even when he came in, he had a very deconstructed look around the perimeter. And that's something I want to really maintain. You can take a look here at the back. See how this is really deconstructed in around here. What I'd like to do is take my clippers and make this whole look a little bit leaner. And
You mean a little tighter?
Yes.
When you say leaner? Okay.
Right, a little bit tighter, but not so where the skin is exposed or the scalp is exposed. I want to create lots of great texture with the clippers, you know, kind of using it without a guard and just doing clipper over comb.
Okay. What about the highlights?
The highlights I like. I like the way they look, and I think they'll add a really edgy type of a look to it, even when they after the haircut.
Yeah, great.
With the shape around the front, though, I want to do something like I've been seeing in fashion magazines and on TV, where this top bit is just graduated and gets a bit longer in throughout here. So it's actually a leaner, taller look to the entire shape. And this is where most of the movement is going to take place, up and through at the top.
Okay, great. So starting off with the clipper work?
I'm going to start off with the clipper work.
And then working your way into scissor comb?
Yes.
Great. And first thing, shampoo, and then you're going to go from there?
Right. I'm going to shampoo, make sure his hair is really clean, section it off. I'm going to have it sectioned off, and that way we'll be able to see the horseshoe type section that I'm taking before I begin.
Good. And I know we chatted about it before starting when we were saying about the station that you've put out, obviously, clean combs, the tools that you're going to be using. But other than that, you've got nothing else on the station, because everything that you introduce is part of the service, and you want it to be a focus for the customer.
Sure, and you don't want them to see a bunch of tools sitting out on your station, because automatically they'll assume, you know, you've used them on the previous customer.
Right. Okay, great. Well,
Great.
let's get started. I look
Okay.
forward to seeing it.
Before I start my clipper work, I want to just show you what I did with our sectioning. I sectioned a horseshoe parting, which dips a little lower here in the back. That's to maintain length in the crown. So I took that all the way around. And as you notice, I'm not using any clips in his hair. That's because when I'm working with my men clients, I want to have more of a masculine appearance. I don't want to put, you know, a big purple clip right on the top of his head. So I'm going to start here on the right side. If I'm right-handed, I like to work on the right side and work my way around. If you're left-handed, obviously do the opposite. And when I'm putting my comb in, I want to leave just this perimeter out a little bit, because I want to keep, as we said in our opening, this deconstructed feel to it. So I'm going to put in my comb. I'm going to hold it with a C shape, And that is so I can pivot my comb back and forth. I'm not going to be getting a lot of scalp exposure here in his cut. This is just going to be mainly to remove bulk quickly and to add a little texture into the look. So I put my comb in. It's completely suspended out. I comb my section. I decide if I want to take a little bit more off. Here I'm establishing the guide for the entire haircut. All right, that looks pretty cool. Here's my guide. It's always going to be at the tip of my comb when I go to my next panel. So that's my first panel. I'm going to spin around here. I'm going to start my second panel with my guide right here in the front of my comb. And you notice sometimes I'll be cutting across, sometimes I'll be cutting up and down. When I want to blend my section, I'll cut up and down. When I want to remove length, that's when I'll cut right across, horizontally. Okay, I'm going to move on to my next panel. Grab my guide, and cut. Again, notice I'm leaving out my perimeter. I'm going to come back and address that later. I'm going to continue working around the head shape, and then I'll come back when we're ready for our second start point. Since I finished that section, let me show you what it looks like completed. I'm going to come back in now and point cut in the same fashion, just completely around the head from right to left. And this is where I could do my fine tuning. So the first section I'll take is right here. Put my comb in, and I'm just going to point cut into it. This will help blend out my texture a little bit and give it more of a finished look. Around here, in the hairline that I didn't address, I can address it now with shear of a comb. Again, I keep my comb in a C shape, held in a C shape, so I'm able to pivot it up the side of the head. And I just keep working from panel to panel. And if you have trouble getting your comb in, you want to keep your comb and your hand moving at all times. So your comb moving simultaneously with your cutting hand. I'm going to do this around the complete section, and then we'll come back and we'll get started with the top. Okay, I'm going to start my sections here from the crown. I just want to show you this here. From the crown all the way to the front, I'm going to hold my sections out. I'm going to use my razor, and I'm just going to be looking for my guide right underneath, which should fall away, and I'm going to cut it right to my guide. I'm going to hold the hair out right from where it grows and cut. So I don't want to have any more length start to develop here in the front, because this is going to be, I'm going to even take this bit in closer, okay? What's going to happen by doing this is I'm going to allow more length in the center. So I'll take my section out, and I'll begin to razor. There's my guide right underneath. I'll just bring it and cut it right to my guide. I'm just going to turn them a little bit so you can see this. Take my next section, also straight across from the crown to the front. Comb that section over. Make sure that it's misted down well before I begin razor cutting. Hold my section out and cut right to my guide. It's really important to have a sharp blade in your razor. I try to change it at least every couple of haircuts, depending on how much razor work I do. Here, I'm just going to fine tune it a little bit. Again, I'm holding it straight out from where it grows. From the crown to the front. I'm going to do this all the way across the top. Bring everything over to the right side. Then I'm going to do the same thing on my left side, and then we'll come back as I address the next section. Okay, my next start point is here in the back. I'm going to take sections, again, from this crown area to the back, to right below the occipital, just about where I run out of hair. I'm going to hold the hair straight out, and I'm just going to razor it. I'm going to bring it over, take my next section. I may run out of hair really quick, and that's okay. One more section. And as you can see, I'm holding it straight out from where it grows. You can see my guide underneath. Okay, we're going to stop here. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, and then we're going to address the area right in front where we do some graduation. Okay, my next start point is right in the front. I'm going to take a section right across. Now, I've chosen to pick up my shears just because I want to work with a tool that, with the razor, I could go in there and I could take it short. If he had a very, very strong hairline, I might do that. Here, I want to just watch as it develops, and I'm going to take my shears, and I'm just going to point cut into it. I want to take this short, but I want to be able to watch it as it develops. And that's about what I'm looking for. Okay, take my next section across. And I'm going to just point cut right to this, see my guide underneath. And then we'll come back and we'll see our final section, which is just everything up on top. Our next section is right here on top. I'm going to take the hair in the crown area. I'm going to bring it straight up. And as you see, there's a little bit of a point here. I'm just going to minimize that point by actually point cutting into it. Take my next section straight up. And again, just reduce that point. I'm going to do this through to the front. Until I run out of hair. Now, I can come in this way and texturize it as well. That's coming in from behind my fingers, just using my blade and cutting as I'm coming in. It's a little safer than coming in and point cutting like this. You have to be very mindful of your fingers if you are point cutting, coming straight up and down. Now I'm going to come around the front. I'm also going to add some more texture into it by taking a section straight across. And just cutting some texture into it like this. And I'm not actually closing my blade. I'm actually kind of slide cutting. Or almost back combing with my blade. So I'm just moving my blade like this, but never actually cutting it up, closing it completely. And this is just to give it even more of a textured look. And a destructured appearance. And when I'm doing this, I'm also placing my finger right on the screw, right on the nut there. I'm going to continue putting some texture into his hair, and then what I'm going to do is put some products in and show you the finished look. Okay, for our finished look, I used a combination of products, some gel, and that's just to give it his hair a little bit of shine and break it up, show a lot of that texture. And I also used a fiber product and some pomade. And that really gives it definition, breaks the whole look up, and I think makes for a really cool finished look. So by following those techniques on the video, you can make this technique your own and add your knowledge and your experience into it and really make it work for your customer. So I hope you have fun working with this particular shape.